Hi, my name is Ellen. I'm an artist. Thank you guys for watching my video and clicking on it. I'm glad that you're interested in it. Please like, comment, subscribe, and share if you feel like this video resonates with some other people. So I did not script this video. I'm sorry, but I just had a quick thought, and since I'm already set up to record, I just wanted to put this out there. I've been seeing this discourse online about SWs. SW is a specific abbreviation for a particular line of work that is an umbrella term for a multitude of different things. So, people, alternative, non alternative, goth, non goth, men, women, trans, cis, everybody is like kind of having this conversation that's like blaming SWs who are actresses pretending to be goth and pushing out negative and harmful tropes and stereotypes to misrepresent the subculture that's already heavily stigmatized, fetishized, and causes harm to like actual goth people who are not a part of the industry at all. And I feel like the hate and the criticism is being misguided. I feel like a lot of people are being hateful towards the workers and aren't doing enough work to criticize the industry that creates a demand for such a thing to begin with. Because even
Barely 2 words in, and you already look like you want me dead. You're getting all worked up over nothing. You've changed.
even if those people ceased existing, all their content disappeared overnight, the men who seek out that type of content, they are not going to magically respect women. They were already not respecting women to seek out the content to begin with. And those men aren't going to magically want to develop an interest in what goth is. They're not going to read goth literature. They're not going to listen to goth music. They're not going to go to a goth club unless it is to try and fetishize a goth girl in real life. Like, they're not going to be a part of the community and try and add to it in a positive way. This is just something that they're doing to get their rocks off. And I don't blame the workers, although it is annoying to see people push out these toxic views and traits, and it does cause actual harm to real people who are actually goth. There's a lot of people who identify as goth but also work as an SW at some point in life, and a lot of the subculture that we have today would not be possible without the 304s, the full service 304s that are out on the streets doing the work and using the funds to reinvest and develop the community that we have today. There's so much from goth subculture that borrows a lot of inspiration from the SWs. A lot of what you would associate to be goth fashion today is actually fetish wear, leather, pleather, pointy heels, like those ballerina heels, the whips, the chains, the harnesses, chokers, spikes, studs. Like, all of these things that we associate with being goth fashion actually comes from the SW industry, and it is a form of fetish wear, dominatrix, BDSM, and all of that. And the goth scene wouldn't be possible without those members that were doing the work and pouring into the community to create the spaces that we have today and pave the way for new spaces that we have today. I don't I understand the frustration and seeing that type of content, and it is a bit annoying, especially when you realize that a lot of it is actually just AI. So that means that a worker isn't even benefiting from this content. It's someone behind a computer putting certain things into certain algorithms to push out AI slop content that has a lot of harmful tropes. My hate, my distaste isn't with the actual actresses because they are doing a job and they are catering to a demand. If the demand was not there in the first place, then they wouldn't have a job or they wouldn't be able to make money from this particular type of content. And no offense, okay, no offense, but a lot of people who work in the SW industries are forced into this line of work either through trafficking or they have a lot of trauma or they are very poor, they're injured, they're disabled, and they're not able to work a conventional job because a conventional job isn't gonna provide them with the accommodations that they need to properly care for themselves and care for their health. And Social Security is hard to apply for and attain. And the people who have it, they're not making enough money to make a livable wage to support themselves or to support their families. So if they have kids, they're not able to properly support them on whatever salary a Social Security check will provide. And not everybody is in the US. Other countries, they don't have social services set up the same way that we do in the US. So, my hatred isn't with them because I know that they come from different backgrounds. And a lot of times people have to be in dire straits to resort to this line of work to begin with. And is not people's first choice in a career. Um, and that's no offense to anybody in in the careers across the spectrum. I'm just saying that a lot of SW workers are, how do I say this? They're marginalized already and they already have a lot of things kind of riding against them, and this is the only thing or one of the very few things in which they can do to make a living and provide, the access they need to live, any sort of standard of life. So my hatred, my distaste isn't towards them, it's towards the men, it's towards the companies that write these scripts and continue projecting these negative tropes out into the world. It's not the worker's fault. Even if you're not in SW, a lot of us do jobs where we're working for companies that don't align with our values because that's what we do to pay the bills. There's lots of people who work for Amazon, and we're not mad at the people who work at Amazon, but we're mad at Jeff Bezos and the harm that he causes to society. We're mad at, the billionaire class and what they're doing to the earth and everything. We're not mad at the people who work these companies to pay their bills. And we have to apply the similar logic to this. I don't enjoy this content and I don't watch certain content, but because I am goth, because I am alternative, I'm on certain algorithms and I get certain things pushed out to me that the algorithm thinks that I would enjoy based on other interests. And the algorithm doesn't know the difference between people who are actually goth, actually alternative, like the music, are a part of the subculture, versus the people who fetishize it and sexualize it and want to seek harm towards people in it because they don't know the difference between someone who's actually goth versus someone who's playing a character to cater towards their needs. And they have porn rotted brains. Like, it's a larger issue. So when you're criticizing people for over sexualizing the goth community and contributing to harmful tropes and narratives, just try to be aware of how that disdain should not be catered towards the workers because they're already dealing with enough and it's not their fault in particular for what's going on. So just like be mindful of that. I also see lots of people having this conversation that don't have the range to have the conversation. I see lots of men talking about, oh my gosh, I hate those fake goth girls on the internet. They project a lot of negative tropes and stuff. Like they're ruining goth. Oh my gosh, I hate it here. And then when people say, hey, I don't think that your disdain should be towards the workers. I think that your disdain should be towards the companies that employ them. And it should go towards the men who seek out the content to begin with, because if there wasn't a demand, then there wouldn't be a supply. And they're like, no, I think everybody's to blame, everybody's criticism. It's just like, okay, but you're still a man and you're having a conversation about harm towards women. Like, there's the people that are being harmed in this industry, and I don't think that you should on that if that's going to be your attitude and you're not gonna think about the implications of that. I see people who don't have I see people who aren't queer and who don't have queer friends and don't understand how a lot of people who are gay, a lot of people who are trans, who especially people who are like in the Bible Belt, or people who just come from like really strict conservative families, people whose families are in cults, they don't have a support system, so they're forced towards the margins of society, and they are kind of cornered into these positions because of the stigma that they already operate in. So, like, I don't know, my hatred is not like, I don't have hatred. My distaste isn't with the workers. The actresses are clocking into a job the same way that we clock into our job, and we don't always align with the values of the companies that we work with, but we're doing it for a check, and so are they. So when you're having these discussions, just keep that in mind and don't direct any type of hate towards people who are already hated on, are already stigmatized, are already on the receiving end of so much abuse, and are at such a great risk of violence from our society without any accountability. So just think about that before you, I don't know, get on your high horse and judge people for their jobs because you don't like how it affects you in your subculture. Because there's actual people with actual cultures and actual things that make them actually marginalized that they did not choose. People don't choose to be undocumented immigrants. They don't choose to be trans. They choose to live in their truth and express themselves as such, but they don't, that's not a choice. That is something that they are. People don't choose their sexualities. The only people who believe that you can choose your sexuality are people who are bisexual and they made a choice to present as heterosexual. Like, those are the only people who realistically believe that sexuality is a choice because they made theirs. There's no there's no other way around that. People don't choose their race. We have people that bleach their skin. We have people that are addicted to tanning pills. But that does not change their race. It changes how people can perceive them in the world, but that's very extreme and that's not something that most people are doing. People don't choose to be disabled. Like, most people in their right mind aren't going to choose to break their own legs and live in a wheelchair the rest of their lives. They're not going to choose to injure themselves severely to the point where they become disabled. People can be reckless, but people don't intentionally choose to be disabled. A lot of people do a lot of work to ensure that that doesn't happen by eating right and going to the gym and stuff. So just think about how these views can cause real harm to people. Like, the same way you're mad that they're projecting a lot of harmful tropes and it's causing real harm towards you and your friends, is the same way that you need to be mindful about your views, because it can cause real harm to them, their friends, their coworkers, or even family members, to a certain extent. So I just think that we need to be mindful in our criticisms of people and look at the full picture and see who is actually at fault for a lot of things going on in our society and not be so quick to judge, blame, or point the finger or anything. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I did try and make these thoughts quick. I hope that this video makes sense because I didn't script it and you guys are able to enjoy yourself, be nice to each other, like, comment, subscribe, and share with someone that you think could possibly resonate with this video. And I will see you guys later. Bye.